Sports Matters TV.
Okay, guys, welcome to a Sports Matters edition across the pond. We've been blessed to feature many Corkonians over the years on with us. The man in front of me right now, he's an absolute legend, a former New Farm man, right across the road from myself and Aka. I remember watching the good old New Farm days with Billy Clark and kind of some great players over the years. Playing with Morecambe at the moment, obviously some great spells at Bradford, Plymouth Argyle, Aberdeen, obviously Blackburn Rovers as well. Annie, first of all, it's been a crazy 2 years, but luckily things are looking up. We're seeing fans back. That's obviously a big thing for you this season, seeing the fans and the home fans back, is it?
Yeah, definitely. It was like you said, it was a strange year last year. Playing in front of no crowds, and last year I was at Bradford, and something about a lot of people would say about Bradford is the crowd. It's such a big stadium, and such a big club, and we missed the fans last year, especially a Valley Parade when teams come there. The fans make it really hard for them. But last year, like you said, it was no fans allowed in, so a lot of games were, it was an even keel really. It didn't matter whether the games were home or away or not, so there was no fans in there. So like when you see in the Premier League, teams going to places like Anfield last year where Liverpool weren't the force where they normally are, do you know what I mean? So having fans back is massive, especially just for that, the adrenaline and stuff like that, and the buzz for playing football. It wasn't the same without them.
Definitely, and look, obviously currently playing in League One. I know there was a lot of talk of you going to the Championship and stuff, but obviously it didn't happen. League One, solid league, you know what I mean. Some great teams. It's a very hard league to win. Well, obviously teams are looking kind of okay this year. Like it's obviously look, you've seen Sheffield Wednesday got relegated. You know what I mean. There's some big teams in there, but obviously look, there's a big fight ahead this season for you to get a playoff, no doubt.
Yeah, it's probably the toughest League One there's ever been, I reckon. Like you said, there's some big clubs in League One, and it's never ever been so strong before. You got the likes of Sheffield Wednesday, Sunderland, Rotherham have come down. Like you said, lot of big clubs. But for us, I suppose it's Morecambe's first year in League One, first ever year in League One, and I've just signed this season, and I wanted to come in and be part of the club going forward, and the manager has been brilliant. I can't speak highly enough of him, Stephen Robinson. He's a Northern Irishman, and I've no doubts that he'll go on to bigger and better things in the future. I think he'll go on to manage Northern Ireland at some point. I think he nearly actually got the job going back a couple of years ago, but it didn't happen for one reason. But I think he will end up going on to manage the international team in Northern Ireland. But we're lucky to have him at the minute in the style of play he wants to play. And every team we've played this season, whether we've won, whether we've drawn or lost, a lot of managers have come away saying, "Yous are the best team we've played." We really do play a really exciting style of football and a high pressing style of football, and it doesn't always come off for us, but we're very exciting to watch, and I'm glad to be part of it. Manager put a lot of trust in me, made me the captain. So I'm really enjoying my football at the minute. Like I just said there, I'm captain, but I've done that role many times before. I was captain at Bradford. I've been captain at my youth teams, at Blackburn reserve teams, so it's nothing new to me really. But it's a great bunch of lads as well to play with. So yeah, I'm happy with how it's going at the moment. But like you said, it's going to be tough for us because it's our first year in League One. So I suppose a top half finish would be success for the club.
Definitely. Like, we have to speak of the fans, Anthony. We know how iconic these fans are. Like, you know what I mean? We're seeing a lot of stuff trend. I think there was a fan travelled so many miles there recently. I think it was over the weekend. I think he was telling the missus he was going somewhere. And I think he'd done over 300 miles or something. But, like, fan base is huge. And, like, obviously there's huge expectations. Obviously coming up from League 2 to League 1. I think sometimes teams get rolled off straight away. They always say, look, the teams that will come up from the lower league will come up. But there's no doubt you're building on something. Like, you know what I mean? Great fan base. There's a massive squad there. Great manager. Like, as you say, a top half finish would be success this year, no doubt.
Yeah, I honestly think that just staying in the league would probably be seen as success by a lot of people. But inside the team or the club and us as players, we want more than that, and we have to strive for more than just settling, just for staying in the division. At the start of the season, we were on a really good run. Our first game of the season was actually at Ipswich, who are obviously another massive club, and we should have took 3 points there away from home, and they scored in the last minute. And all the pundits and whatever were coming away saying Morecambe are going to be a force this season, but we hit a little patch recently where we've had a few bad results, but We picked up another win last week against Fleetwood, and then a decent draw Tuesday against Charlton. So we've got a bit of momentum going again now. So like I said, we've just got this club and this team. We've just got to take it game by game. Next game now is tomorrow. Obviously, we've got MK Dons at home, so we're looking to take 3 points there again and keep pushing on up the table.
It'd be a cracker of a game, and like there's a great team there. Like as you say, look, always exciting to watch. I'd watch all the kind of highlights on Sky Sports News afterwards, after 5-6 o'clock. Always exciting games. Now, Anthony, you've been out of Cork for a long time. I know you're always kind of back and forth, but you probably spent half your life over in the UK. What was it like joining Blackburn? Look, obviously it's tough. Obviously growing up as a Cork man, I know what it's like to be away from home. It's tough. You have all the lads, all your little routines around Cork City. Obviously, it was a big move for you, exciting, but obviously it can be grueling as well. Like any professional, footballer I've spoke to over the years, they'll always tell you how hard it is when they leave home and stuff for the first time. But how did you find that transition first there?
Yeah, you summed it up there really in a nutshell. When you grow up in Cork, it's everyone knows each other and you're friends with everyone. Especially where I grew up in Knocknaheeny, I grew up playing for New Farm and I played with all my friends. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a team where I was playing with lads that I didn't know. It was like I was playing with New Farm and then I was going back to my house and I was still playing out in the streets with the same fellas I just had a match with. So I loved my upbringing from coming from Knocknaheeny and playing for such a good schoolboys team in New Farm, and my team was probably one of the better teams in Cork at the time. And I went on to play for Killareen then, and I just felt like that was a better move for me at the time, especially because I knew my football was kind of probably going to go somewhere, or probably had a better chance of it going somewhere if I was playing for the best team in Cork, and Killareen wanted me to sign for them. And like I said, I played for the Cork Kennedy Cup team and started getting into the Irish teams and stuff like that. There was myself. Obviously, you would come across John Egan. Yeah. Me and John were the two centre halves for the Irish team for a long time through the age groups. The likes of Jordan Philpott, I think he's a teacher in the Mon now, actually.
Yes, he actually, I tell you, when Philpott was at Blackburn, he got me Stefan Honshaw's Liverpool jersey. He asked him for a jersey. I think he was a coach.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
The jersey's actually in the back, so like Philpott's flying. He's a teacher. I know he had some success with College Corinthians and UCC. Yeah. So it's a small world.
Yeah, so me and Jordan went to Blackburn at the same age, and for whatever reason or not, I don't know, Jordan didn't seem to work out for Jordan, or he just wanted to come home or whatever. It wasn't the right time for him. But Garrod Morrissey as well came over to Blackburn with me, and I'm still keeping contact with Garrod to this day, and a really good friend of mine. But going back to what you were saying, it was really, really hard for me to leave home, but I knew at the back of my mind always that it was my dream to play football and nothing was going to stand in my way. Now, don't get me wrong, there was times where it was really tough and I spent nights with my head in my pillow crying and wanted my mum and dad to come over and wanted my friends to come over and I wanted to come home. And there was actually times where I thought, oh, I can't do this. But when I was actually on the pitch, it was probably the easiest time for me because I didn't have time to think about anything. It was just football and it's what I loved doing. It was more so when I was up in my digs and, too much time to think about things and too much time to think about what the lads are doing at home in Cork and stuff like that. That was probably the hardest part. But after about a year or year and a bit, that just went. The homesickness kind of went, and I just cracked on with things then. And I suppose when you start playing reserve team football and you see yourself making that progression, you think, yeah, this is starting to get good now. I'm making progression, and then you go into the football league and you go on different loan spells, and you get that taste for the playing in front of crowds and that buzz, and that's when I really started to knuckle down and crack on with things.
Definitely, and being a Knocknaheeny boy myself, obviously growing up in Harborview Road, I'd always remember, yourself, some great players. Obviously, John Egan is a guy that we know well, but obviously, the likes of Anthony Fenton, John O'Sullivan, Alan King, they all went to non-stuff for Cork Ramblers, but obviously, loan spells are very beneficial when you're at a club. So obviously you had some great loan spells. You were highly thought of because there was big clubs after you on loan. How did you find the loan process? Obviously it helps getting, match time and playing against the big boys.
Yeah, well, it was all new to me, obviously, with going on loan. I didn't know what to expect. I was only 18, 19 going on loan for the first time. I went to Burton Albion. And Gary Rowett was the manager, who's now the Millwall manager. And he's obviously managed some great clubs. He's managed the likes of Derby County, Stoke in the last few years. So He took me there, and he just took a liking to me straight away. Just wanted to get me on loan for the full season. I only went for a month originally, just to see how I would cope and how I would get on, and I just hit the ground running. I think I was getting 3 or 4 man of the matches in the first month, and he just said to me, "I want you here for the season. Like I really like you," kind of a thing. And there was, he was, what managers are like when they get asked in the press and stuff like that. And I remember him saying some nice things about me, saying, I think he can go back to Blackburn and get in the team. Like he has that sort of ability. So it was a manager that really liked me, and I obviously just took confidence from that. It was nice to hear things like that, and I just grew in confidence all the time. And then different loan moves came after that. I always see myself as a centre half and a centre back. So I went to Burton Albion. I was playing different positions, and then following a few seasons, I was playing centre back, and then I was playing centre mid. I was getting this name for being a versatile player and a player that could play anywhere. So I suppose a lot of managers were taking a liking to me because I was just, a player that could probably play anywhere and would do anything for the team, kind of a thing. So the loan moves were brilliant for me. It gave me a chance to, like I said, play first team football and get that experience under my belt.
Definitely. And it was probably fair to say, like, when you joined Blackburn, obviously there was good teams, but there was a big transition then within the years of being on loan and stuff. There was a lot chopping and changing. It was probably like you were destined, no doubt, to play for Blackburn, but I just think with all the chopping and changing and stuff, obviously it was hard, was it, to see all that?
Yeah, there was obviously a lot of managerial changes and things going on in the background at the club, but I was like I said earlier, I was captain of the youth team. Then I went up to the reserves, and I was captain for the reserves for a while. And then I ended up going out on loan for a while. I thought, I need to get out and play games and show what I'm about. And then I ended up signing a new 3-year deal at Blackburn. Steve Keane actually gave me the contract at the time, and I was thinking, maybe he sees a future for me at the club. Then, because it was actually my last year. I think my last year contracted at the club when I went on loan, and then within a few months, obviously, I think because I was doing so well, I think clubs were kind of looking at me, having a little sniff around me or whatever, or coming to watch. And that's when Blackburn tied me down to a 3-year deal. And I thought maybe I'd get a chance under Steve Keane, but then Steve Keane was got the sack, and different managers came in, Henningberg, and then Gary Boyer took over. And I actually thought I might have had a chance under Gary Boyer because he was my youth team and reserve manager. And for whatever reason, it just didn't happen. And he was meant to give me my debut. Actually, Gary Boyer he actually told me the night before a game that if this player, they just signed a centre half from somewhere, I can't remember, and he said, "You're going to play tomorrow. You're going to make your debut, but if this lad's clearance comes through, he's going to play." So I was kind of like, you know what I mean? I was kind of thinking, well, I think I deserve a chance, but whatever. So I traveled to the hotel with the first team and stuff like that, like gearing myself up to make my debut. And then he pulled me a pre-match meal and said I was starting on the bench because the lad's clearance came through. So it just, you need a bit of luck in football at times. God, if I could have played that game and probably, played out of my skin, and I probably would have stayed in the team then for a few games or whatever. You just don't know what happened in football. You speak to any footballer, it's a mad game, and you just need a bit of luck at the time. And when that happened, I just thought, I need to get out and play games. I can't be sitting in the reserves anymore because I'm past that stage of my career now. I feel like I'm too good to be playing reserve team football. So that's when I was actually on loan at Plymouth that season, and I thought I'm going to finish out the season at Plymouth because John Sheridan was there, who was John Sheridan was an Irish international years ago, playing with the likes of Roy Keane and stuff like that. So I wanted to go and play for him, and he thought highly of me anyway. And I went and played the rest of the season at Plymouth, and then we got to the playoffs that season, but ended up losing. So, and that's when I left Blackburn at the end of that season.
And like you said, there is harsh realities when it comes to football. People don't realise. They only see the glamour and stuff. But like people don't realise, Andy, there's a lot of people that have come home. Like, you probably look at any player in the League of Ireland, and 90% of them have been in England and they have come home. Like, you've been kind of good. As you said, you play with some big clubs. You're still playing with massive clubs. So you're outstanding performances throughout and throughout. What was it like playing with Aberdeen? Because look, I'm obsessed with Aberdeen, even though I'm a Celtic fan. Aberdeen are such a big club, historic club. Obviously, you had some great time in Scotland, and it was definitely a good move for you.
Yeah, it was very good. I actually loved my time at Aberdeen. I left Burton Albion when we were in League One. We just got promoted to the Championship, and Aberdeen came in for me that summer. I was still contracted to Burton, obviously getting promoted and on a high and stuff like that. So Aberdeen came in for me, and I just, they were after me actually for a couple of seasons before that, but I just never really seemed to jump at the move to go into Scotland at the time for whatever reason. But then that summer when Derek McGuinness, made the phone call and said we really want him. I just, I just thought, it's a bit of me now. It sounds like a good move, and I went up and met him in Aberdeen, flew into Aberdeen, met him. Didn't even meet the lads. Literally just walked into the changing room and played a game. Played the first pre-season game. Didn't even meet the lads for a training session. Just walked in and played. I think I played half a game or something like that. And that was it. I signed a 2-year deal at Aberdeen, and like I said, like you said, such a historic club and big club. I don't think people realise how big a club it is, because it's a one club city. Do you know what I mean? It's in Glasgow you get the two clubs, you get Rangers and Celtic. Obviously they're massive clubs. But Aberdeen is just the one club in the city, and everyone supports Aberdeen. So you're known everywhere you go. You walk down the street, people are asking you for photos and whatever. If you go on a night out with the lads, people are asking you for photos. So I really love my time there, and it's a place where I feel like I really kicked on. I really cemented my place as a centre half. I think because them 2 seasons at Aberdeen, I played most of my football at centre half, and I loved every minute of it. Got the 2 cup finals in my first year there. We lost to Celtic in both finals. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers, his Celtic team was so hard to catch and to beat. Do you know what I mean? We finished second behind them. We finished ahead of Rangers. Like I said, 2 cup finals, but Celtic managed just to have the edge over us every time. And then my second season there, we finished 9 points behind Celtic, but finished past Rangers again. So two good successful years for me and the club there, and really loved it. And Derek McGuinness, I always say he's one of the best managers I've played for, and I think he's not in the job at the moment, but he'll soon be at a big club, I reckon.
Definitely. Now, the rumour mill's a big thing, but there was a lot of rumours that Celtic were after you. I don't know how true it is, but I know there was a lot of big teams sniffing. Obviously, that there always has been. But Celtic, there was talk, and there was things on the paper and Twitter that Celtic were interested, and obviously Rodgers was keen because obviously he's seen the performances against Celtic. But was that something that ever came your way? You know what I mean?
My last game for Aberdeen was actually at Celtic Park, and I had the game of my life. Honestly, like I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet or anything, but if I look back in the games I played, I look at that Celtic game and thought, it was probably one of the best games I've ever had. And I was marking Moussa Dembele, who's obviously gone on to play for great clubs, and I was at Atletico Madrid. I still think he's there, but I had a really good game, and I like I said, I think I got MOM in that game, and we needed to win that game to secure second place. And if Rangers were playing Hibs, I think, on the same day, and basically we needed to just better Rangers' result, but we ended up beating Celtic at Celtic Park 1-0, and like I said, I had a really good game. And after that, I had a phone call from my agent just saying, you played really well, blah blah, like keep your phone on, we've had some contacts already, like. And he was saying he was talking to a few clubs like Preston and Ipswich, who were championship clubs at the time, but for whatever reason it just never materialised. The Celtic thing, I don't know if there was much in it. There's always rumours and stuff like that, but like I said, I try not to get carried away with it. I just crack on with things, and that was the last game of the season, so I just wanted to go home and see my family, and go home to Cork and have a walk around Cork again, because I love going home to Cork. And I always take a spin up to Knocknaheeny every time I'm home as well. I always drive past New Farm's pitch, even though the grass is about a mile high now at New Farm, but I always take a drive past there to just to think, like, that's where it all started for me. And it's unbelievable when I go up there. Just it's crazy just to think that I used to walk from my house over by Super Value. I used to live in Dunmanus Park. I used to walk from there down to New Farm, every Saturday to play. Whenever I drive up there now, I just think it's crazy to think that I've come out of Knocknaheeny and gone on to have a footballing career in England. You know what I mean? I find it mad sometimes, but
you look at the greats, Andy. There's greats that came out of Knocker. We're talking about Denise O'Sullivan, Mark Carey, the runner. Do you know what I mean? It's yourself. You know what I mean? It's an iconic place. You know what I mean? Famous Ga players up that direction. But it's Knocknaheeny looks a bit different these days. I know there's obviously you've seen they build new homes and stuff. But yeah, Knocker is known for Anthony O'Connor. The streets know who Anthony O'Connor is. Trust me.
Yeah, it's they had some really good players come out of Knocknaheeny through the years. Like you said there earlier, when New Farm had some really good players like Gareth Cambridge, all these kind of guys. And Martin Cambridge was the manager. I think he's managing Castleview now. Actually, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I always bump into him when I come home, and we always have a chat, and he's always asking me to come and train with him whenever I'm home, just to pass on a few points or whatever. So I always, whenever I pass people when I come home, I always, keep in touch with everyone, and I'm glad to see everyone and think back in the New Farm days and stuff like that, because that's what made me really was my New Farm days. That's where I've really had a love for football and love playing with my mates, and that's where I really grew as a footballer. And like I said, I drive past there every time I go home just to think back on the old times.
To think it was right on Patsy Friend's doorstep, as you remember. Patsy Friend lived right across the New Farms pitch, which is iconic as well. But we have to speak of home. You're only a baba when it comes to football. You know what I mean? The best is still to come. But do you reckon maybe in your late 30s, because I know you're probably going to play. You're going to play until you're probably 40. You're that fit. Obviously, look after yourself. But look, maybe 36, 37, 38. Will we see you back and maybe playing with Cork City? Is this something you'd like to do?
Yeah, I've had this conversation a few times with a few people over the years. I had a phone call with someone from the Echo recently. Graham Cummins.
Yeah.
Graham Cummins rung me recently, and I played against Graham when he was at St Johnston and that when I was at Aberdeen. So he rung me and he was asking me about would I ever come back to Cork City, and I said I'd love nothing more to come back and finish my career in Cork City. And he asked me, like, would it have to be Cork City or would it be someone else? And I said, no, it has to be Cork City. Like I wouldn't want to go anywhere else. I definitely want to have a year or two at Cork City anyway. But I still, I'm like you said there, I'm quite a fit lad. I've, touch wood, I've always stayed injury free. I've played over 400 games now in England. And I'd like to think that I could get another few more hundred over here in England. And like you said, get to my mid-30s, and if the phone call ever came to come home to Cork, and I've had this conversation with my wife a few times, where we always say that when I retire, we're going to move home to Cork because, Cork is my home, and I still don't see England as my home. I never have done, I never will do. Cork is always my home, is my home, and every chance I get to go home, I always go. And my wife is the same. She idolises Cork as well. She's only actually after coming back from Cork recently, and a few of her mates are over from Cork as well. So there's a few Cork accents in the house in a minute. So I'm glad they're over. But yeah, to answer your question, me back at Cork City, not back at Cork City because I never played for Cork City before, but me to put on a Cork City shirt in the future. Yeah, I hope I get the chance to do it.
Love it. Now, one thing I will say, right, and this is a funny thing, but anytime we have a Cork lad, and he's on and he's playing at the Championship of the Premier League, he'll always have that English twang at me, and I'll always take the mick. I'll say, well, you're only in England a couple of months and you have an English twang, but you've kept your true Knocknaheeny Nori accent, you know what I mean, which is beautiful. But we have to ask you quick fire questions, right? So you played in many great stadiums over the years, right? If you could pick one, what would that stadium be?
There's two that stand out, and that's Ibrox and Celtic Park. Celtic Park, obviously, for obvious reasons, being an Irish lad, and most of, like yourself, most of Cork lads are Celtic fans anyway, along with your Man United and Liverpools and stuff like that. Everyone supports Celtic, so the play at Celtic Park was unbelievable. But the atmosphere at Ibrox was so hostile, and it was just, me personally, I love playing in that environment. I love the pressure of it, and I just, I got a real buzz off it. And I think because, I don't know if they knew or not. I don't know if them fans knew that I was an Irish lad or I was a Cork lad. I enjoyed being shouted at if I made a tackle, and if I ended up putting a hard tackle in on someone, and you're getting abuse and stuff like that. Like I used to get a great kick out of that. And my first game against Rangers was actually at Pittodrie at Aberdeen Stadium. We beat them 2-1, and I just remember kicking lumps out of the strikers just because I was just so up for it. And I actually. It was the game, I don't know if you remember James Maddison. James Maddison was on loan with us at the time, who's obviously at Leicester now. And he scored an unbelievable free kick in the last minute. I don't know if you ever saw it, but...
No, I did. I used to watch all the games that you play, and I'd always keep an eye on, so I remember.
Yeah, James Maddison whipped one in the top corner last minute, and we all knew he was going to go on to be a really good player. But yeah, Ibrox and Celtic Park, I would say. But I'd lean towards Celtic Park just because of obvious reasons, being an Irish lad.
I love it. Who's the best you ever played against? So you've played against some great players, whether it's the FA Cup, Scotland, England, Irish international duties, 21s and underage. But who's the best you played against? If you could pick one.
It's hard questions, you know. I've played with obviously the likes of James Maddison and stuff like that, but obviously played against them as well before, played against him a good few times. Moussa Dembele at Celtic was always a handful, and loved playing against him. Even in my Irish teams, you know, the likes of we played Spain, playing the likes of Morata, Delafeo, these kind of players, you know, and I've always loved playing against them. I'd probably lean towards. I'm actually have to remember on a few players now. I don't know. Played against Pogba, obviously, and all them throughout the reserves at Man United when he was young, and the youth teams, and Ravel Morrison. Ravel Morrison was scary, honestly. How he's not gone on to have a long career in the Premier League, I don't know. Obviously, he has his own reasons, but he was scary. But just coming up against someone directly, you know, for me being a centre half and him being a striker, and just having that battle, you know, a constant battle of jumping for him with headers and tackles, and probably Moussa Dembele, just because I enjoyed it, and you know, just a direct back battle, me against him. I'd probably say him.
They were good battles as well, I must say. And last of all, who was your sporting idol growing up? It's probably predictable, maybe Roy Keane, but maybe it's not.
Roy Keane was one of them. Yeah, I'd always say I'd look up to Roy Keane. Again, obvious reasons. Cork man. You know, I used to live up the road in Mayfield. My parents live in Ballyvlan now, so not far from Mayfield. Him for obvious reasons, but I was a Liverpool fan always, and I'm obviously a Liverpool fan now. But growing up, you know, Liverpool was my team, and Steven Gerrard was my hero. Obvious reasons, just because he was the best player to play for Liverpool, I think, ever. So I would say Gerrard was probably my footballing hero growing up.
If he was the manager of Rangers at the time, would you have shaken his hand?
I'd have shook his hand. Like I'd shake all opponents' hands. I know I'm not that kind of lad. You know, I'm not a thing where I think I'm not childish and going, nah, you play for Rangers or your Rangers this. You know, it's the heat of a battle on the pitch, and you know you want to beat them because it's Rangers, and you know you kick lumps out of them on the pitch. But after the game, when it's all said and done, you know it's a handshake. It's you know it's well done. You know, all the best, and you know if Steven Gerrard, you know about I'd shake his hand, but if he ever said you fancy coming to play for Rangers, I'd say, get out of my face.
Yeah, that's apparently a thing though. I heard in the past. I think he apparently approached David Moyler to join Rangers, and I know there's been a couple of Irish lads in the past that have been approached. But look, it'd be hard to say no to Gerrard, but maybe when it's Rangers and being a Corkonian and stuff.
Or Aberdeen manager Derek McGuinness at the time, he actually got offered the Rangers job. He was meant to go after my first year at Aberdeen. He was meant to go to Sunderland in the Championship, and we thought he was going because everyone was saying it was more or less done. But he turned it down for whatever reason and came back to Aberdeen. And then Rangers came in for him a few months into the season. I think this is when Rangers were going through, you know, a tough time. I think they just got rid of Pedro Caixinha or whatever his name. Yeah, Pedro Caixinha, and they needed a new manager, obviously. And Derek McGuinness was top of their list. And this is obviously before they got Gerrard in. And Derek McGuinness went to meet him because he's a Rangers man. Derek McGuinness is, and he played for Rangers, and Rangers was his club. So he went to meet him, and we thought he was out of here. And Derek McGuinness always used to say to me in training, he always used to say, "You'd look good in the blue." And I just used to say, "Get out of my face!" Like he used to know, like he just used to wind me up. But he always used to say, "You'd look good in the blue." Nah, not for me.
Oh, I agree. Ali, listen, it's been an absolute privilege speaking to you as always. And look, as I said, at the end of the season, we'll touch base again. There's a big season ahead. I know that the fixtures they're grueling. But look, we'll be over in the UK soon. We're due to fly over in January, so we'll try and catch up. The plan is to see a game as well, and we'll catch you after the game on camera. But you're a gent, you know, a fellow Knockney man like myself. It's an honour. And as I said, the streets will always know Annie O'Connor. That's a fact.
Cheers, Joe. Appreciate it, pal. Appreciate your time.
Anytime. Look after yourself, bud.
You too, buddy. Cheers.